Hello, I'm Donna and I'm from Make Sense Psychotherapy. I was involved in some of the Raising Teens radio shows, and the team have just asked me to put together some content around emotional well-being. So the first thing that I thought might be useful is some ideas in how to calm down that worrying mind. Because we know that at the moment it's a really worrying time, so it's natural that we would be worrying more than usual. Worry is only useful if it prompts us to do something. So it may be at the moment that you're worried about your family going outside and how to look after yourselves, and that may have prompted you to make some plans and to think about how to get around that. Well, then that's great, that's been useful. However, worry can become excessive, and when it becomes excessive, it can actually trigger our fight and flight response, which is our survival mode, which is quite a big physiological response to threat and danger. And so to be able to calm that down and to be able to prevent that survival mode being triggered, there are certain things that we can do. The first thing to be really conscious of with that fight and flight response and that survival mode is that we don't access our thinking brain. We don't access our rational brain. So it's hard to think clearly. And we can see that, can't we? We've seen images of people fighting over toilet roll in supermarket aisles. Now that's not rational. That's about them being in their survival mode. So to be able to calm that brain down, to be able to calm that sensation down of feeling super worried, there are certain things that we can do. The first thing is to breathe. Now that sounds really obvious, doesn't it? But there are certain breathing techniques that we know that really switch off that stress response. And the first one of these is something called the 7-11 breathing technique. And it may be that you've come across this before, either in yoga or Pilates or meditation, or you've been taught it somewhere else. But it's a super technique to use when that worried brain feels a bit too much. This is not a breathing technique to use every day, all day. This is one just to use to switch off that worry when you are aware that it's become too difficult. So you breathe in for a count of 7 and you breathe out for a count of 11. Super simple. Those are not seconds, by the way, and it may be that even 7 and 11 not in seconds is too much, and you can change those numbers. It doesn't matter what the numbers are as long as the out breath is longer, because we understand that that longer out breath switches on our relaxation response. So if we think about our stress response ramps us up, our relaxation response brings us back down. So 7-11 breathing. It can be 3 and 8, it can be 5 and 9, it doesn't matter what the numbers are as long as the out breath is longer. The second breathing technique is very similar to this one. It still has a shorter in breath and a longer out breath, but it has a hold breath in the middle, and this is called the 3-4-5. So you breathe in for a count of 3, you hold for a count of 4, and you breathe out for a count of 5. So in just a really similar way, but with a hold breath in the middle, in for a count of 3, hold for a count of 4, out for a count of 5, the 3-4-5. Some people prefer this to the 7-11, other people just prefer an in and an out breath. It really doesn't matter. You find what works for you and you bring these breathing techniques when you need them. So this is not something to do 24/7. These are techniques to be aware of when you're conscious that that thinking has got a little bit too churny and a little bit too much and you're feeling a bit anxious. Use these breathing techniques. The next thing to think about when turning off that worrying brain and stopping that fight and flight being triggered is to move. Now, in all of the government things that they've put out recently, it still says they want us to exercise, but of course safely and in a socially distanced way. So if you're able to still get exercise outside, great. Maybe you're a runner, maybe you go cycling, and that still works for you and you can still do that in a socially distanced way, then brilliant. If, however, you are in your home and you are somebody maybe in a higher risk group, so you're not able to leave your house right now, find ways of doing this in your house. I have just had a little dance party in my kitchen with my daughter. There's an app on YouTube that you can use that has dance moves that you have to follow. Absolute scream, but it got my heart rate going up. So just think about creative ways you can do that. It may be that you have stairs in your house and you can time yourself going up and down the stairs safely and carefully. You don't want to end up in A&E right now. So be careful, but just find ways that you can keep moving and keep active. The other thing to say, of course, is if you are in your home isolated because you are ill, please don't put your body under extra stress by doing too much exercise. Use the breathing techniques instead. Another really good way to calm down the worrying brain is to use distraction. So something that really absorbs your mind, whether it's a film or a book or something creative. I know somebody was saying to me the other day that sales of cross stitch have gone astronomically high because people are trying to find things that absorb their attention. So anything you can do, if you are creative, crack out those paints, get your charcoals out, do anything that you can to really absorb your mind, because what that does is it puts us into a state of flow. It calms down the noise and it puts us into a state of flow. So find something distracting. Lastly, another really good way of managing that busy head is to plan something and to see it through to the end. Now, it may be that you've been looking at drawers for months and months and months and thought, well, I really need to tidy those out. Now's your opportunity. If you're able to fit that into a day, if you're working at home and you're still doing your school from home, find time to do things like that. We know that clearing your space is incredibly helpful for calming down the brain. But the thing about the plan and complete is that we are completing something to an end, and the brain loves that. The brain absolutely loves that, because if you think about worrying thoughts, they're just firing off with no completion and no answer and nothing that really puts an end to them. So breathe, move, distract and plan, and take care.